What's up guys, welcome to this issue of Motu Garage where we're finally working once again on our MY03 WRX. Now if you saw the Pimp My Wife's Ride special, you would have seen that we upgraded the power, we upgraded the brakes, and we upgraded the exterior of the car. But one thing we didn't upgrade was the handling. Well, today all that's about to change. But we are taking a little bit of a different approach to what most people do. Generally, people install coilovers first so they can lower their car and obviously make it stiffer. However, the problem with that is often, especially on a car with high mileage, when you make the car stiffer and lower, you have lots of other problems arise within the suspension. So we're going to upgrade everything else on the car except the shocks and springs, which means we get to keep factory ride height, factory drivability, and obviously the car's nice and legal. But the big bonus is you get to save quite a bit of money. So first up, let's take a look at what we're going to install in the car. We'll get it in and test it out.
When it came to upgrading the handling, we contacted our friends at Fulcrum Suspension, who sent down a Super Pro care package. For the rear of the car, we simply replaced all of the factory rubber bushes with Super Pro polyurethane bushes. Both lower control arms and the trailing arm, so 6 bushes in total per side. Factory rubber bushes tend to flex, even more so when nearly 200,000 kilometres old like in our WRX. So switching to Super Pro items will stop deflection in the suspension, keeping the alignment constant under hard cornering and giving better driver feedback. In the front, we step things up a notch, fitting the Super Pro Superloy alloy lower control arms with Super Pro's Grip Dynamics technology, giving optimised camber and caster settings for better handling. The arm itself is lighter than factory and comes already fitted with Super Pro bushes, an anti-lift kit and solid sway bar links. We also measured it at 15mm longer than factory arms, meaning increased track and negative camber. We also elected for new Super Pro steering rack bushes, which help give more direct steering feel. One of the biggest handling upgrades you can do is larger adjustable sway bars. So Super Pro roll control adjustable items front and rear got the tick. We didn't bother with bump steer adjusters for the tie rod ends as the car is staying at factory ride height. We took the car to our friends at Sydney Suspension and Auto Care, Super Pro dealers, to get everything installed. Up front, the easiest method is to remove sections of crossmember to allow easy access to the lower arms and sway bar and remove it altogether. Once it is removed, it is easy to replace the steering rack bushes. Having completely new arms to drop in means it's quick and easy with no bushes to press in and out. The Super Pro kit doesn't require any spacers or modifications, and the arms, anti-lift kit and sway bar bolt straight in. Because we are using factory shocks and springs, we decided to put the front sway bar on its hardest setting. In the rear, all the arms need to be removed so the factory bushes can be pressed out. The arms are then cleaned up, lubricated with supplied grease, and a new polyurethane bush installed. After the arms go in, it's time for the larger and stiffer sway bar. You can see the difference in size here. We put it on the medium setting until we test it out, enabling us to dial a little more oversteer or understeer as required. With everything in, it's onto the wheel aligner. The Superloy alloy arms gave the car 1.5 degrees more negative camber, bringing it up to 2 degrees, which is perfect for a street car and now matches the rear. With tow back to spec, the job is done and it's time to test.
Now we've been driving the Rexy for a couple of weeks now around town with the new suspension put into the car. You don't notice that much of a difference when you're just cruising around on the freeway or main roads, but when you do go over bumps and around some tight roundabouts and things like that, you do notice that the Super Pro polyurethane bushes help the suspension alignment stay more consistent because their bushes aren't deflecting under hard load like the factory ones. Sway bars keep it a bit flatter, but to be honest with you, pretty much drives the same as a standard WRX, but it just feels newer. The steering's a lot more direct due to the aftermarket bushes in the rack. It basically just freshened the car up. Where we are going to notice the difference in the suspension changes is when you take it out to either a racetrack or your favourite piece of twisty road. So that's where we are today to check out what the car's like to drive with a little bit of pace. So even just stepping up the pace slightly now, because the suspension is so much more direct and the car sits flatter due to the sway bars, you're finding yourself now carrying a lot more pace without even trying. Coming into most corners, I've barely got a brake because you can just flow through some of these twists is so much easier than you used to be able to. All right, good bit of road. Here we go. Wow, just instantaneous difference in this car compared to before. The pace that you can carry is totally different. Yeah, understeer now is so different to before. Now tipping the car in, I notice there's almost no understeer on turn in and power down on the way out. The anti-lift kit has gotten rid of the understeer quite nicely. Now the car still moves around a little due to the standard shocks and springs, because obviously they're fairly soft, but the sway bars have made it much more predictable. It is now actually a lot of fun to drive. Anyone who tells you need coilovers to make a quick car is wrong, because this thing, I actually prefer it. It's not bumping and grinding like a stiff car that has coilovers in it that are too stiff for the road. I can now just tip it in, bit of throttle to balance the car, mid-corner's awesome now. On it, no understeer on the way out. This thing is so much improved. So the moral of the story behind all this is, by leaving the factory shocks and springs, but putting everything else into the suspension package means that when you drive the car normally, it just feels like a freshened up factory car. But when you drive it flat out, the performance improvement is immense. The car is way more predictable than it used to be. Once you get used to just that little bit of body roll as you first tip in, it feels like a standard car, but then the sway bars start doing their job, the bushes start doing their job, and when you're on the limit, it is a totally different car, and I love it.